Horror story for Darkroom Tales. I found the house by accident. I was just trying to take a shortcut through an old summer village people said had been abandoned for years. I was ready to walk past it when I noticed a flickering light on the second floor. Not electric dim, yellow, like an oil lamp. But everyone knew no one had lived in these houses for a very long time. The front door was slightly open, and for reasons I still can't explain, I stepped inside. The first thing I heard was a faint scratching, like long nails dragging across the walls. Then came a whisper, soft, distorted, like a distant breath. "You came at last." I told myself it was just the wind, but when I took another step, the door slammed shut behind me so violently the whole building trembled. I grabbed the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The whisper came again, closer now, and the light upstairs flickered, as if inviting me. I climbed the stairs, each groaning step sinking slightly under my weight. Portraits lined the walls, families, children, smiling faces frozen in time. But the longer I stared, the more wrong those smiles seemed. Too wide, too stretched, and the eyes hollow. On one of the portraits, I noticed a figure wearing the same clothes I was wearing at that exact moment. That was impossible. The air grew colder as I reached the room where the light showed. There was no door, just a dark, sagging doorway. Inside, the lamp sat on the floor, casting an uneven glow across a circular mark where furniture had once been. In the center of the dust lay a small notebook, old, worn, and on the cover my name, written in handwriting that wasn't mine. Day 1. He entered the house. He will not leave. A chill crawled up my spine as I flipped through the next pages. The entries grew darker, more frantic. Day 2. He hears me, but he doesn't understand yet. Day 3. He tries to escape. The house won't allow it. My hands tremble. I hadn't written any of this. Someone had been expecting me, documenting me, trapping me. I slammed the notebook shut, but the moment I did, the scratching sound returned, this time directly behind me. I froze, slow breathing, hot and even, inches from the back of my neck. I turned, nothing, but on the wall behind me, a new message had appeared written in long, jagged strokes, as if carved by something sharp. Day 4 begins now. The lamp flickered violently and went out. Darkness swallowed the room whole. And in that darkness, something whispered right next to my ear, this time in my own voice. "You should have never come in." Story to the apartment where no one lives. I never believed the rumors about the building across from mine. People said apartment 304 was cursed, that tenants never stayed longer than a week. Some said they heard footsteps pacing at night. Others claimed the lights turned on by themselves, even though the place had been officially empty. For years, I ignored all that, until the night I saw someone standing inside. It was around 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep, so I got up to close my curtains. That's when I noticed the window of apartment 304 glowing faintly, and behind the fogged-up glass a silhouette, motionless, facing my direction. The strange part wasn't the figure itself. Shadows can play tricks at night. The strange part was that the window was on the 9th floor, but the silhouette was at the wrong height, a head too high, as if whoever was standing there was almost touching the ceiling. I blinked, and the light went out instantly, like someone cut a wire. The next day, curiosity pushed me to check the building directory. Apartment 304 had been vacant for 8 years. No one had keys except the property manager, who swore he hadn't been inside since last winter. That night, I didn't expect to see the window lit again, but at exactly 2:14 a.m., it glowed, bright this time, and the silhouette was back, closer. This time, it wasn't standing. It was leaning, crooked, its head pressed sideways against the glass, as if straining to see me through the window across the street. The light snapped off again. I couldn't stop thinking about it, so the next morning I went to the other building. The hallway smelled old, dusty, Every apartment door had a name tag, except 304. The plaque had been ripped off, leaving only scratched metal. My heartbeat echoed louder than my footsteps. When I reached the door, I felt a cold draft coming from underneath. I pressed my ear to the wood. Silence. But the moment I touched the doorknob, the hallway lights flickered, once, twice. Then the door unlocked by itself. Inside, everything was covered in white sheets, furniture shapes frozen like ghosts. Dust hung in the air, heavy enough that no one could have been living there. The living room window was fogged over. From the inside, exactly the way I saw it from my apartment. I approached slowly, my body shaking. And that's when I saw it. A handprint on the glass, huge, wrongly shaped. Long fingers dragging downward like something had been sliding down the window. I stepped back. The apartment door slammed shut behind me. The lights went out. And in the darkness, from somewhere near the ceiling, a distorted voice whispered. You looked back. Something moved above me, slow, wet. I didn't stay to understand what it was. I lunged at the door, wrenching it open, and sprinted until I made it outside. That night, I looked up at apartment 300 for one last time. No lights, no silhouette. But now, even with the window dark, I can see it. Something tall, too tall, standing very still in the corner of the room, waiting for the lights to turn on again. Story 3: The Voice in the Vent. The first time I heard the voice, I thought it was my neighbor. Thin walls, old building, it made sense. It was around midnight when a faint whisper drifted through the vent above my bed. Are you awake? I froze. The voice sounded wrong. Too soft, too close, and definitely not like anyone who lived on my floor. I didn't answer. A few seconds later, the whisper came again, slightly distorted, as if carried through long metal tunnels. I can hear you breathing. I turned on the light, heart pounding. The vent cover was just a grid of old metal, rusted around the edges. Nothing unusual. I convinced myself it had to be a prank. Maybe some kid messing with the ducts. The next morning, I asked the neighbor next door if he heard anything strange. He shook his head. No one uses the ventilation system anymore, he said. They shut it off years ago. That night, I left the lights on just in case. But around 1:17 a.m., they flickered once, twice, then dimmed to a low, trembling glow. And the whisper returned. You didn't answer me. I backed away from the vent. The metal cover rattled, gently at first, then harder, as if someone was pressing their fingers against it from the inside. The screws squeaked, turning half a rotation. I grabbed my phone to call someone, anyone, but the screen froze before I could unlock it. Something moved behind the grate, slow scraping, then a low, dragging inhale. In getting closer, the voice murmured. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, the building manager came to check the vent. He removed the cover and shined a flashlight inside. There's nothing in here, he said, just an empty shaft. And it doesn't connect to any other apartments. This whole section's been sealed off since the 90s. He screwed the vent cover back on and left. But when I returned to my room, I noticed something he apparently didn't. Long scratches along the inside of the metal frame. Fresh, deep, like fingernail marks. That night, I pushed a dresser in front of the vent. I thought maybe that would stop the voice. It didn't. At 3:03 a.m., the whisper slid through the room again, this time from behind the dresser. You're trying to hide from me. The dresser trembled. Not much, just enough to make its legs tap against the floor. Then the screws from the vent began to fall one by one, hitting the ground with quiet metallic clicks. I stood by the door, ready to run, but the whisper stopped me. If you leave, it'll follow the sound. The last screw dropped. The vent cover fell forward, clattering onto the floor. Something inside shifted, heavy and slow. Not crawling, dragging, like wet limbs pulling across metal. Then a pale hand emerged from the darkness. Not human. Too long. Too thin, fingers bending in ways they shouldn't. It pressed against the floor, feeling its way forward. I ran. I didn't look back until I reached the street. Now I'm staying in a cheap motel on the edge of town. No vents, no ducts. I thought I'd be safe, but last night, around 4 a.m., I heard it again. A whisper, not from above, not from the walls, but from the narrow gap under the motel door. I found you. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, don't forget to subscribe to Darkroom Tales for more nightmares, more shadows, and more tales you should never listen to alone. See you in the next darkness.